Hello and welcome to the Family Brand Podcast. My name is Chris. I'm a husband, a father, and an entrepreneur.
My name's Melissa, and I am a wife, mother, former nurse turned real estate investor.
And we believe the greatest gift you can give your child is a last name that stands for something.
Your last name is your family's brand.
If you are a parent who wants to raise your child to know who they are, love who they are, and believe in who they are, this show is for you.
We promise to bring you real and authentic conversations with parents and experts who are committed to making their family their life's most important work.
This show will help you take a stand for your family and to raise your children by design, not default. Hello, everyone. We are stoked to be here. Melissa's looking very bright and beautiful for those of you who are listening, not watching. I love this shirt, Melissa.
I got it. It's so bright. It's basically all the colors of the rainbow plus pink. And Tate saw me today and he's like, "Wow, Mom." You're like, "What's that show called? Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dream Coach?"
Joseph and the Amazing Technicolored Pearl Snap shirt.
It's vintage, and we got it when we always go to the national finals rodeo every year in Vegas. We didn't go this year. Happens in December, but I got this a couple of years ago there, and it's just a really fun, random piece.
Matches Melissa. She's fun. She's very vibrant. She's a bright light in the world.
Wow. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. So we're stoked to share with you how, and I'm going to make a bold promise here. If you listen and if you're watching, this will help you have the best year you've ever had as a family. So your best year yet. And I would say that, and this is something that we've been experimenting with for several years now in our family. We've started sharing it with other families over the past probably 2 or 3 years. Families have said this is the most meaningful and most fun way they've ever brought their current year to a close and to kick off the new year with some real intention and momentum. And that really is, I would say, there's 3 parts to this. One is, how do we not just let 2023 just come to an end without reflecting on some of the biggest lessons, some of our best memories, some of the hardest times, some of the best times, and really kind of the way I look at it, extract all of the gold and the wisdom out of the current year for our entire family and us as individuals. And then 2, how do we set some real intentions going into the new year so we kick off the new year with a lot of momentum and excitement and fun? And then 3, what can we put in place to make sure that we sustain that? For the longest time, Melissa and I don't know if you'd agree with this, but I would say that we didn't think at all about bringing the current year to a close. It was just like, oh, hey,
Another year.
goodbye, to that year. We would go to some random New Year's Eve party that we got invited to or that we'd host, and it was always okay. And then we would wake up on New Year's Eve very groggy, tired, and just always thinking I don't really love starting the new year. It doesn't feel like momentum. And we'd set all these goals and resolutions. And by January 15th, if maybe that's being generous, we'd fallen off the wagon on all of it. And so we were like, well, why don't we change this? Why don't we get the most meaning and value out of the year we've just had? Why don't we kick off the new year with some momentum and intention? And then why don't we put some structures in place to help us sustain it throughout the year? And we're going to invite you to Family Brand's first ever virtual date night.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to interject here is that we're going to go into a little bit of what Chris is describing today. But the thing that I am most excited to talk about right now is something that we are going to host on the 29th of December, Friday. It's a Friday at 7 Mountain. It's a free virtual date night where we're going to basically be incorporating all these things that we're going to talk about today in a live interactive settings. And we, like I said, we've never done anything like this. So it's kind of an experiment, just to see hey, what happens and who comes. And I just think it'll be fun for us to do.
Well, we have families that listen to the podcast from all over the world. And so it would be amazing to, let's have an international virtual date night with some awesome couples. And look, you don't have to be married to participate. It'll be fun regardless. So whether it's with your spouse, your partner, significant other, just by yourself.
Yeah. And what we're going to do during that, it's going to be an hour. We are going to really look at the year 2024 and how can we make that your best year yet? How can you make 2024 your family's best year yet? So it's going to be some planning. It's going to be some looking at the previous year, and we'll kind of guide you through all of that. We'll do it together.
And would you not say, Melissa, that if they follow this process, they'll likely also have probably the most fun they've ever had on a New Year's Eve, but in a very different way than maybe they've ever done New Year's Eve as a family?
Yeah. So usually we have this, many of you have probably done it before, what we kind of prescribe for New Year's Eve for a family. It's this really fun, these fun activities. But that's actually exactly why we're having this date night before New Year's Eve. It's so you can do some of the prep work to incorporate some of that into your New Year's Eve activities. And it will make, I think it makes our New Year's Eve so fun.
Yeah, it is really fun. It's very meaningful. And the cool thing about this process that we're going to walk you through on the virtual date night on the 29th, and again, we'll have all the details like in the show notes, is it involves the whole family. So it's not just that Melissa and I reflect on 2023 and pull out of it the lessons we learned and some of our best memories and things we want to do differently going into 2024. We have that conversation with every single one of our children. We give them time to reflect on their biggest lessons, their biggest struggles and challenges, their biggest highlights. And so every single person, I would say, is bringing the current year to a close in a meaningful way. And every single individual in the family is kicking off the new year with momentum for them individually. And then you're also doing that as a family. And I think that's one of the things in family brand that has become more and more important to Melissa and I, is to make sure that families are growing together. Because, we really believe that strong families are made up of strong individuals. And we've even talked about this a little bit, I think, on the podcast, that we are creating a new category that's never existed in the world, called family development. It's like personal development, but for families. And it's a way for every member of the family to grow. And one of the thoughts I've had a lot lately is, as families, we're either growing together intentionally or we're accidentally drifting apart. And there's not a lot of like gray area. So we're either accidentally drifting apart or we're intentionally growing together. This is just a really fun, meaningful way to grow together. So do we want to share where they can at least opt in to get the initial resources? Because we would want them to have those and looking at those for the virtual date night, right?
Yeah. So if you go to familybrand.com/best, you can register for that date night and get the free resources that you can come. It'll be like something that you can kind of fill out that we'll kind of be walking through that night. And if you don't want to go to the date night, you can't make it to the date night, that's fine. You can.
Let's not say no one's going to not want to come to the date night. Okay.
That's not even
if
possible.
You can't make it to the date night.
Still download the stuff and you can walk through it on your own. We've done it in a way that you can walk through it yourself also.
Yeah. And I would also say, if you can join the virtual date night, because every year families have they love the format. Melissa's done all of this. Like, she's the hero of the how to have your best year yet as a family. And we have families who want to know how to customize it or tailor it. So she'll get a lot of questions through Instagram DMs or email. And so the cool thing about the virtual date night is this is where you get to interact with us directly, ask questions. And so just to give you a little bit of.
Can I add one more thing too that I love about the group cause? Because we do have family brand group programs. And my favorite thing when we get families together on Zoom is just the energy of the families together. And it's so fun to ask questions and maybe hear from other families what their struggles are or what's really working for them. It's just a really, really fun atmosphere to be in together. So I think that's another huge benefit of coming in live to the night.
Well, and with that said, I promise that some of you are going to have suggestions and ideas that we will learn from, that we will totally incorporate into our own family. And to Melissa's point, I think selfishly, we've created this group coaching program, and we take these groups of families through, basically create their family brand together. And selfishly, we love it because we learn from other families so much. Like this most recent group we took through, it was really cool because every couple, I think we had probably 9 or 10 couples in the group. Every couple still has children at home, except Michael and Gail Hyatt. Michael, we've had on the podcast a couple of times, and he and Gail are amazing. They're very, incredibly successful entrepreneurs. and they have 5 adult daughters. So to hear their perspective of why they were going through Family Brand at this point and some of the lessons they learned, and that's just what happens in these types of calls is a sense of community. You realize like, oh, I'm not alone in that struggle, or oh wow, that's an idea that I never would have learned. And I can't help but tell you that we are kicking off another amazing group, and we already have some really awesome families that it kicks off February 1st. And so we're going to be sharing more with you about that as well.
And, you mentioned Michael and Gail Hyatt, how they had so much to offer our group, and they 100% did. But I also thought it was interesting that they also received like valuable things in that group too, because some of our group members were the age of their children. And so they would say, hey, have you tried
Mm.
this with your family? Or what about that? Have you considered that? And it was ideas that they hadn't considered that were totally beneficial and useful to them too. So it really is a really fun collaborative environment when you get together.
I hadn't intended on talking about this. And now that we talk about Michael and Gail, we do have a number of, I would say on a weekly basis, someone will tell me, oh, I wish I would have come across something like Family Brand 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago when my kids were little or still in my house or not high schoolers. And it's like, no, like it's never too late to create a family brand. It's never too late to take a stand for your family. And the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. And so I thought that was really cool that Michael and Gail were doing it as empty nesters, and how many times they said, oh, I wish we'd had this. So you can be thinking, I wish I would have had this 10, 20, 30 years ago. And I'm still going to.
Yeah, start where I'm at right now.
Yeah. And one of the things that'll emerge for you out of this process that we're going to walk you through on the virtual date night is we're going to show you how to create almost like a mini brand for next year. So we have our overarching family brand. We have our mission, our vision, our core values. We talk about it every day. It's transformed our family and continuing to. And we choose almost a theme or an intention for every year. So every year has its own theme. And I kind of like to think of it as like a mini brand. And so this year, our family's theme is simplify and expand. And then we always choose a quote to go with it. And now how we come up with the theme is based on a lot of the interviews with our kids and interviews with each other and feedback, which we're going to share all that with you. And then we usually choose a quote to go with it. And some years I would say the theme is what gets the most attention and it shapes a lot of our decisions. And then I would say other years it's the quote. And this year we didn't talk that much about simplify and expand. We talked a ton though about the quote that came from it that our daughter Ivy picked. And again, that's what's cool. Your family gets to like totally co-create all this. The quote is, fill your life with lots of experiences, not lots of things. Have incredible stories to tell, not incredible clutter in your closets. We made so many decisions this year through the lens of that quote that had we not had it, I don't think we'd have had what I consider our best year yet. Like we did more international travel this year than our entire lives combined, largely because it was like, well, this would be a cool story to tell. This would be a cool experience. Yeah, let's go. And so you're gonna be able to come up with a family theme for next year. Is one of the things, but yeah.
Yeah, one of the outcomes that you'll have from that virtual date night.
So one of the things you could start doing now. So go to familybrand.com/best, get registered for the virtual date night. And I would say like, yeah, start putting some thought right now into, yeah, what have I loved about this year? What were some of the hard things about this year? What do I want to create next year? Like if you come to the virtual date night with some of those thoughts, it'll be really helpful. And we're just stoked to hang out with you.
Yep. So go to familybrand.com/best and we will see you on the 29th.
Thank you so much for listening to the Family Brand Podcast. To say thank you, we have something really awesome we'd love to share with you.
You know, we often hear from families who will tell us that they just feel so overwhelmed because of the demands that are placed on them. They feel like they're constantly being pulled in so many different directions and spread thin, and they're spending time as a family, but they don't feel like it's quality time. They're not really connected and they want to be more intentional. And we can certainly relate because we felt like that at one point in our family. And so we created a guide that allowed us to really be more confident around how we spend time as a family and what we say yes to and what we say no to. And it's just brought so much more peace into our home. It's made our lives so much more simple. And we want to share it with you. So if you go to familybrand.com/free, you can download the How to Take Back Your Family's Time guide. And I can promise you it'll give you more confidence and more peace in your life and in your family.
One last thing, we feel so inspired when we hear from families that we are making a difference for them. We would love it if you would leave us a 5-star rating and a review on the podcast so we can reach even more amazing families. We truly believe that the way we change the world is one family at a time.